Introduction. Welcome to the season 3 of the Thought Leader Way, a knowledge series where we dive deeper into the ever evolving landscape of marketing and technology. I'm your host, Karthik Nagendra, and in today's episode, we are diving into the game changing phenomena that is revolutionizing marketing as we know it, and that is AI generated content. From automated copywriting to personalized product recommendations, AI is definitely reshaping how brands connect with their audience. So, in this episode, we will have a deeper understanding of how AI generated content can actually supercharge your marketing strategies and elevate your brand's impact with my special guest speaker, Professor Jagdish Sheth. Professor Jagdish Sheth is the Charles H. Kilstad Professor of Business at the Goista Business School of Emory University. He's globally known for his scholarly contributions in the areas of consumer behavior, relationship marketing, competitive strategy, and geopolitical analysis. Over 50 years of experience is what he carries in teaching and research. Dr. Sheth is also the recipient of the Padma Bhushan Award, one of the highest civilian awards given by the government of India. Dr. Sheth has been the advisor to numerous corporations all over the world, and he has authored or co authored more than 350 papers and numerous books. So I'm really excited to speak to our guest today. So let's dive in. So, Professor, real honor to have you with us here today, and I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with you on Gen I and its impact on marketing.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, my pleasure, sir. So, Prof, there's a lot of talk which has been going on with respect to the generative AI and its impact on different industries and functions, and definitely marketing is also going to get impacted with that. So, to start off, I just wanted to get your view on how do you envision AI itself reshaping traditional marketing strategies?
I think it'll have probably three different ways it's going to impact. One would be the generated AI will accelerate everything that has happened since the internet and e-commerce. And especially during COVID, basically shut down, lockdown, however you use the word, the shift from physical to digital will be accelerated even more. True. People will get used to, in fact, more and more, not only automation and not only data mining in some fashion, but intelligence on the data mining, which is what AI is all about, the generated AI is all about. So we think that the trends like especially social media, which has taken the world enormously, I think is going to continue more and more, which means user-generated content would become even more appropriate, more interesting, and the chief marketing officers have to learn how to utilize that or how to channel that. Sure. To me, it's very much like a wild river. And wild river can be positive for agriculture, but can be negative and destructive when it floods. It can destroy, like the Nile River, for example. So you have to bank it properly. And the role of chief marketing officer is how do I take this asset, generate it free, but bank it so that it meets my company objectives, whatever they are, whether those are social objectives or just revenue, profit, growth, etc. So to me, it's just acceleration of what things began with internet. Next one.
Okay.
The underlying proposition is very simple. This is more a general comment, then I'll come to marketing in a moment. The underlying proposition is that whoever has the largest databases is likely to win the game because most of the generated AI is based on databases.
Yeah.
It's machine learning, it's data mining, but actually in terms of many ways, the algorithms will learn itself properly and generate a lot more structured things, more downstreaming activities than just data. And it's self-creating, so I don't have to do that myself as a market researcher, for example, or as a consumer insights person, whatever it is in a company. I can use this technology to do it more. So as I said, primarily it will be acceleration of where we are going from physical to digital. And this is something that I strongly recommend companies embrace it rather than fight it.
Yeah.
We have all kinds of camps. So that's clearly my view. Second area is much more interesting. It will probably be very much, in fact, create a strong, what I would call the disintermediation of middlemen. This is very appropriate for the Indian context because I could not believe even today, we have about 9 to 10 intermediaries from the producer to the consumer.
Yeah.
E-commerce has collapsed that quite a lot, like Flipkart, for example, in India, or Amazon for us, or Alibaba. It's like a two-step distribution. I think this technology will enable a lot more shift from selling through the traditional wholesalers, stockist, retailers model to, okay, how can I go direct? So direct marketing will become much more significant. And the disintermediation of retailers or intermediaries like wholesalers, stockists will compress enormously in the process. So distribution function will change dramatically in the process. And this is going to increase because e-commerce companies themselves are saying that we need to go beyond e-commerce. We need to provide more value-added services, which generated AI can do for them. But more importantly, all the social media companies are becoming market exchanges. They are no longer selling their own products, either their own brand or well-known brand, but they're basically saying, we are just here as an exchange. You are responsible for everything. And therefore, the small mom and pop guy can go directly now. I think that's going to make a major change, access to market. So to me, I think that's a very significant change in the distribution system altogether, especially in emerging economies, where the distribution system is highly inefficient, more unorganized. So unorganized retailing or distribution system will get organized, but collapse in the process quite a lot. I think that's what we need to understand. The traditional model of having, 1 million stockists or whatever we have in India for CPG companies is going to go away. So the impact is more in the CPG or FMCG, as we call it in India. I think is more so than and I'll come to the IT side in a moment for technology companies. But I think that's a very key area, pretty much. The with the rise of social media, TikTok now wants to be market exchange. Facebook has become market exchange. So that market will be seeking more vendors or suppliers to bring them on the platform. So they will be the first major users of generated AI to motivate the suppliers, not just the customers. Now, among the largest databases since we went into e-commerce and internet is in the marketing area, customers. Employees are the other large database, which is more about human resource and leadership and management. But on the marketing side, customers is a very large database in the hands of very large e-commerce companies or Google of the world, for example. And they will lead the work. So if you look at the generated AI, who is patronizing it? One of the biggest supporters is Microsoft.
Yeah.
They're already using it heavily in China.
Correct.
And therefore, they really realize that this is a major wave that's coming in. And they're like e-commerce came as a wave. Before that one, of course, internet came as a wave. I think this is where the investment will come in. And of course, Google is adding into a search engine now, the bar, for example, and just goes on and on. I can give you all examples of major. Yeah. So to me, I think that's enabling primarily. That's the main thing. We are enabling a lot more capabilities. And wherever, so in marketing, the third area where it's going to have a largest impact is going to be customer service. Customer service is messy, highly inefficient. Quality assurance is not there on customer service.
True.
It is slower, costly. That's where the advantage comes about. What we call automation at one time, we call it artificial intelligence, now generated AI, pretty much. It can do cheaper, faster, better. And all marketers will decide, therefore, I don't need to have human beings to do customer support. In fact, in the US market, we have such a shortage of people. It's mind-boggling, especially frontline people.
Correct.
So anybody who is a frontline person, and therefore industries that depend on customer support quite a lot, post-sales activities, will be greater impacted by generated AI than any other way. So that's really what I think so. And go ahead, please.
No, please go ahead.
The last area is that we'll have a true democratization of competition. All industries ultimately organize into rule of three. Three large players dominate, and then you have a niche player, typical one. But the growth of niche players will be enormous now with this technology. Because they will be enabled to do a lot more by technology, so they can have more reach. They can go global, for example. All of the social media companies are becoming market exchange, so access to market is possible. Infrastructure is in place. If you have to do physical delivery of products, today Amazon can do it for you pretty much. Either with the use of others or their own capabilities primarily. Logistics is a very key part in the process. So you will have, therefore, democratization of competition, which I think is very important, which says that the traditional notion of three players dominating the market may be counterbalanced by more and more niche players. You still have the three players dominating, but the niche players themselves will become larger segment of the population. And in countries like India, anything that's mostly, as you know, most consumption in India is 60% is unbranded products. And it's probably distributed about 80% is my estimate through the unorganized sector. Now suddenly everything becomes branded and organized retailing, which I think is a major transformation, because fortunately in countries like India, China, true in Africa even now, Latin America definitely, everybody has a smartphone. And because the smartphone, more affordability of the smartphone, either on a lease or on a buying basis or bundling with the services, I think is going to have a huge change, acceptance of technology in general. Now, I will make one comment here which is unrelated, and stop me, please, okay? Because I can go on and on. So, the largest data actually belongs to the governments. They collect more information on citizens on any different options. Therefore, it's very likely that government enterprises may lead more use of generated AI than the private sector.
Very interesting.
We have already seen UPI in India on the payment system. We have already seen, in fact, Aadhaar platform. So the governments may decide that it is in the national interest, either from a security viewpoint or from a systems viewpoint, however you look at it, social agenda in many ways, it is in their interest to create the platforms, rather than a private sector doing the platforms and then allow the platform to be used by private sector, essentially. To me, I'm watching that trend and thinking about where will it happen. Will it be India? Will it be China? Or will it be somebody out of Kenya or Nigeria? We have no idea. But I'm watching that trend,
That's a very interesting, and I love the context that you said from, traditional industries, distribution, competition, to even government, and especially, the metaphor that you use, that it's like a river. It's good for the agriculture, but if it floods, like the river Nile, and it could cause chaos as well. So I think that was a very good context setting on what we want to discuss today. So you spoke about a lot on social media becoming more crucial element in this generative AI, and even the e-commerce that you spoke about. In fact, I was reading about how AI generated live streaming commerce is now a big thing in China, which they want to see how that can be scaled up in the other geographies as well. So content becomes a very crucial element in this entire piece. And with a lot of these AI generated content tools which are available now, which can either create written content or visual content, or even bots which can probably, I am a bot doing this interview here with you, right? So we almost heading into that kind of reality, which is virtual and which is reality, is going to be very difficult to kind of
Yeah.
demarcate. So what are some trends that you predict for AI generated content, specifically from a marketing standpoint over the next few coming years?
Um, the first major trend is that anything in marketing that we do, which is digital, which could be digitized, will definitely be more and more acceptance of generated AI, either as a function or as a practice or as a change in marketing in general. Therefore, it goes toward Marcom, marketing communication.
Yeah.
More and more advertising will shift from traditional media. Print is already declining worldwide, even though in India still is growing a little more. Television is going to shift enormously with not only streaming, but I think a lot more than that now. I'm watching very interestingly, and generated AI can push that in that direction, is that with YouTube, I have no limits of channels.
Yeah.
Remember, in the broadcast days, we had a limit of 5, 6 channels.
Yes. I still
Then
remember
cable
the first
expanded.
TV which we had. It had, I think, 7 channels.
Exactly.
That was the very first time we had 7 channels.
Exactly. Like a big event in our lives, and then, of course, we went to cable TV, which expanded even more with coaxial cable to maybe 90 channels,
Yeah.
150 channels, But today, with YouTube platform, I can have a channel of every company. In fact, I've been advocated that more and more companies should create their own YouTube channel of communication, like a Walmart, which is so big.
Yeah.
With Flipkart owning, being owned by Walmart or Alibaba, those guys can have their own channel, and people like to watch the content. Many, many years ago, J. Walter Thompson, as an agency, did an experiment whether people like infomercials or not. A channel dedicated to promoting one product, and they said people love it. People are addicted to that, just like they are addicted to programs. So I think I become addicted to Walmart channel. That's just as an example, or a Reliance channel in India.
Yeah.
People want to know Reliance stories. It's all storytelling.
Yeah, storytelling.
So he says, all right, who are the founders of Reliance? How did Reliance Retail come about? What does Reliance do? Dhirubhai Ambani, who he was. If you have a movie or a documentary on the person, I can put it on my channel. I have a lot of content generated that I can fill the space 24/7.
Yeah.
And then I can also introduce new products. Generally, a person who shops at Walmart does not shop at Target.
Correct.
There is no competition in retailing. We have wrong notions.
Yeah.
Retailers don't compete, they segment the market.
Yeah.
I've done some research on this one, and I was amazed that people who go to Walmart do not go to Kmart in the old days, for example, or go to Target now, or go to Macy's. People who go to Macy's don't go to Target, which is interesting. So I can create a channel of my own. I can have my own distribution places, etc. And I'm watching more and more with more voice recognition coming in generated AI. Alexa is an incredible platform.
Yeah.
Siri is a good platform, but they have plateaued. So voice recognition technology will be the transformative thing around here, pretty much. And to me, that's clearly one major shift that you will see in marketing. That I don't have to depend on the traditional channels for my content. Again, as a smart CMO, why not leverage my brand identity, my brand reputation, by encouraging users to show clever things they can do? Today, to do innovative idea in marketing through ad agencies, creative people, slogan that we created, logo, is a very long process,
Yeah.
very manual. I think this allows freedom to get ideas from everybody.
Mm.
So I can create either through contest mechanisms
Yeah.
or I can through free flow mechanism. So what you really need is a good pilot
Yeah.
to fly the ship.
That's very well.
Primarily.
That's very true. So I know you talk about different avenues and platforms which will emerge where AI can be utilized to generate, and that the time taken to create that also is much faster. But in
Yeah.
the midst of all these things, how do marketers actually maintain authenticity and the brand voice when it comes to creating this content? Because there is that fear of saying, okay, if I'm using AI and generating this content, then the brand voice and the authenticity goes off, and everything looks very robotic, from brand A to brand B, and hence that would also have an impact on how the consumer would perceive and receive that. And you've done a lot of work in the consumer behavior
Mm.
space as well. So how do you see this playing out?
It's a double-edged sword, clearly.
Hmm.
The advantage is that you get more creativity participation by the mass market, and ideas come similar to Saregama program where ordinary people become extraordinary.
Yeah.
Very, Indian Idol program. These are very interesting, sort of humble beginnings, but somebody discovers you as a talent, nurtures the talent. So that's a nice part. But people can abuse your brand for their own purposes.
Hmm.
And today the world has become so acrimonious, there is no civility anymore,
Hmm.
which says that the brand stewardship will become more important.
Hmm.
And I have suggested in my academic writing some time ago that the role of CMO must change fundamentally.
Hmm.
And the technology will probably push it in that direction. A CMO should not be typical line manager, like a brand manager, etc., separate from the sales function altogether and become a corporate staff function.
Mhm.
We have a chief human resource officer,
Hmm.
we have a chief information technology officer, CTOs, for example,
Hmm.
CIOs, CFOs. They are more a staff function.
Hmm.
But as a staff function, they get involved in everything. So CMO cannot be just a marketer for external stakeholders like the customer, but also other external stakeholders like investors,
Hmm.
suppliers,
Hmm.
community, which we do in India very well, the
Hmm.
external affairs, consumer, side,
Yeah.
CSR, but also a very important part that we have not done very well in the past is a typical marketing function does not do enough internal marketing.
Hmm.
It's become more and more important to make sure that your internal marketing is done well, where your employees and your staff people are all on the same board before you go external marketing, essentially.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think it's a question of how do I create an internal marketing as elegant, as good as what I do external marketing.
Wow.
And the external marketing defining that my role is no longer just limited to customer,
Hmm.
but I also need to relate to community, relate to investor for calls, for example.
Hmm.
I think that's very key.
Hmm.
So creating that staff function is very important, my view,
Very interesting.
and which is slightly different. In fact, I'm asked by several people to say, your idea sounds so interesting, write up a major paper,
Yeah.
which I've been hoping to do. It's easier to do a video conversation probably or a videotape than to write a paper nowadays. But I'm thinking about that.
That'll be very
I'm
interesting.
quite
I'll have to
convinced.
read that.
Yeah. And the reason is that then you are sitting at the table.
Correct.
At the board meetings, then you are at the part of the board meeting.
True. True. Very
You are
interesting.
an executive, yeah.
Very
Because typically you see HR guys are there at the
correct.
board meetings, and you see CFO definitely is there at the board meetings.
Yeah.
Legal people are at the board meetings. So I think it's important because ultimately the CMO has to learn how to relate to board members especially independent external board members with the new Company Act and all the regulations that have come in compliance side. It's very important.
So true. That's very interesting aspects. One is the changing role of the CMO, and also focusing a lot more from the internal marketing as well, and not just from an external marketing standpoint. So we spoke about different sectors. So I wanted to look at one question which is focused purely from the B2B side of things as well. And I interact a lot with B2B technology companies, and one of their core elements of marketing is content, be it research papers, white papers, blogs, articles, podcasts, you name it. And they use all these to showcase that they are thought leaders in that specific segment. So how do you see generative AI helping marketers to either better that game, or do you think that's also going to create a lot more noise in the market where everybody is claiming to be experts?
Yeah. There are several analogs from the print days. The best was a Bell Journal of Economics, which was produced by Bell Labs.
Bell Labs, huh?
It really talked about the economic aspects of technology. If you fast forward in today's world now, from print to audio to video to now, digital, I think having a world-class journal of your own, for a large IT company, for example, and having an editorial board that manages this very well, in terms of knowledge generated by your own company, or knowledge generated by the industry, like NASCOM in the technology sector, for example. Either NASCOM can aspire to have its own academic journal, which is world-class, or a company can do it. And then some of these journals from corporations became as good as academic journals.
Yeah.
They did not focus on the working professional side. They focused on the scientists. And in the US, we know these R&D centers of companies like IBM, Xerox, now Microsoft, Google, they're world-class.
Yeah.
They generate the next generation of Nobel Prize winners.
Yeah.
As Bell Labs did at one time, IBM did at one time, which became legacy companies now. But the newer companies have an enormous capability. But what you require in a typical journal or a content is a curator. It's like a museum. Do you dump the pieces of artifacts, or do you organize in a way, which is why some sort of a organization properly of that content. So the content as raw material becomes packaged good in some fashion. That will be very important. Now, in the technology companies, like the electronic city-based companies in Bangalore, that capability is not there in-house.
True.
They have not thought about it.
Yeah.
But today one can easily recruit people, have a department to do that work properly. And a typical good librarian is very good. But I usually recommend a good museum director. It's out of the box thinking.
Absolutely.
But they bring in a fresh perspective. And museum is visual.
Yeah.
Everything we do today is visual more so than print. And so one has to think from that viewpoint. And so, but it's very necessary, in my view.
I think that's a very, very good input for a lot of people who are developing these AI bots. If they're able to build some of those traits of a museum curator into this, I'm sure it's going to definitely help a lot of the companies from a curation standpoint, and and then they can say, okay, now among these, how do I further dive deep into it and present a perspective? I think that's a very wonderful idea.
The other thing about the use of bots, I think since we all are trained on a PC platform, laptop, the real hidden asset in the bot is creating voice-based bots.
Correct. That's the future, definitely.
That's the future.
The voice-based and conversational-based, and which is a lot more intuitive
E-
to what you're asking and having that conversation with you.
Exactly. Exactly. And
That's
this is where I think that voice will dominate back again in the bot world primarily
definitely.
because it sounds so real.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's very
voice is
interesting, Professor.
voice is
Oh,
more emotive.
true, true. And you
I can
have
show
that
my
sense of
empathy,
having a conversation
and I
with
can show
somebody.
my empathy.
Correct.
Empathy can come easily. I mean,
True,
all of
true.
the emotional attitude of compassion, empathy can come easily through voice,
Voice.
cannot come in an email
Text.
exchange or text messages.
True, true. So, Prof, my last question to you would be: what's one tip that you would like to give CMOs who are now preparing themselves to implement a lot more of these AI generated
Yeah.
content into their marketing strategies?
First of all, they have to educate everybody in their departments to be very up to date with generated AI and actually make use of it.
Hmm.
Just as we say PC is a must now, without a laptop, you can't work in a corporation
Yeah,
as a person. It pervades all throughout the chief marketing officer's responsibilities. If customer support is under that, then all of the customer support people should know what is generated AI. So internal training and education to standardize, homogenize the language is very key immediately.
hmm.
In general, as you know, more and more, 40% of all the IT budget goes to the CMO,
Yeah,
not the CIO. CIO is mostly to legacy systems, downsize, get rid of it kind of a notion.
yeah,
But all the new initiatives are customer facing essentially. And therefore, the CMO has to have a very strong understanding herself or himself
yeah,
and promote, become the chief evangelist about the generated AI. So all the fears and anxieties we have about generated AI taking over the jobs, etc.
yeah,
He says, no, it's a great enabler tool. I'm teaching a class right now, and all my assignments on research projects, I have 3 in the class. I've strongly encouraged students to use the
yeah,
chat GPT
yeah,
or any version of generated AI. But I'm saying I'll judge it not by, it cannot be a substitute for you,
yeah.
cannot write the paper, but the way you raise questions
Yes,
will be the defining moment.
yeah,
So in generative AI, it's all about what questions you ask, then
yes.
you will get the right answer. So, and I'm hoping that students will embrace it. We are encouraging embracement
Okay.
of this technology.
So
And
no
we know
wonder
how to
you're a thought
monitor.
leader, Professor. Always trying out newer things because
Yeah,
that's what we need.
exactly. Keeps me young at least. I'm learning
Yeah,
all new languages. So
absolutely.
blockchain I learned. And now I'm learning quantum computing. I had no idea what it means. But I'm learning, basically. So
We
it's very
have a
exciting.
lot to learn. We have a lot to learn from people like you. Definitely an inspiration for a lot of the younger generation out there. Loved our conversation. I know I could just go on. This time was very short, but some very interesting insights for a lot of people out there. Some out of the box thinking aspects, and more importantly, like you said, uh, chief marketing officer should become the chief evangelist for AI within the organization and take out that fear that it's not going to take out your jobs, but it's in fact going to help you do better at your jobs. And like you rightly said, it's about asking those right questions, which can
Right,
make all the difference. So
right.
thank you once again, Prof, for your valuable time. I really loved our conversation.
I enjoyed, Karthik. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you.